nice skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Welcome to the Life Gorgeous. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Western Conference Finals, playoffs, excitement. This is the Timberwolves Group Chat. And we have to hustle because one of these gentlemen has to get to a bar on a Monday night.
Yeah, Scott. Clearly, Scott brings his kids to bars. It's crazy.
Scott Shapiro, power executive at Fox Radio, hires and fires Skip Bayless. I mean, he I don't know what he does. And Phil Mackey, the media mogul of Score North Purple Daily, just coming out of some power meetings, and he's got to get to a Timberwolves event tonight.
Little Flagrant Howls unplugged tonight. That's right.
And how is your energy today? Are you okay? Are you on?
Oh man, I'm ready to. I mean, I am. I've gone through every possible machination of this series, and I'm ready for a parade, gentlemen. I'm ready for a parade.
First, I want to ask both of you to paint a picture. Phil, what's the mood in the Twin Cities for the Wolves? What's the mood? What's it like right now in the Twin Cities?
I would say last year felt like happy to be here, right? Hey, in terms of fans and nobody expected that Timberwolves team to come back from down 3 games to 2, really, except for, well, there was a couple people that called the outcome of that series on Flagrant Howls. But I think there's more. I think people understand how open this path is right now. OKC is favored. OKC is the best of the 4 remaining teams. But I think Anthony Edwards and Chris Finch and Julius Randle, I think people are taking this team very seriously locally. And there's a certain, I don't think there's a disappointment level if they get beat by the Thunder. But I think there is an expectation that they could be the ones that snap the 3.5-decade run of the men's teams in this town. A, not winning a championship, but B, not even getting to the championship round of their respective leagues.
Scott, what's the mood in the Valley for the Timberwolves fans out here in California near Studio City, Sherman Oaks? What's the mood?
In my household, it is pure ecstasy. We are on top of the world right now as Minnesota Timberwolves fans. And I must say, I was wrong. Okay. And I have to come out and admit it. Phil and I joined your podcast, Craig, 2 months ago. And I boldly said they have no shot to return to the Western Conference Finals.
Wow,
I did not see a pathway for that to happen. At that time, we were debating because Julius Randle was hurt at the time. We were suggesting at that point, is it better if he's just on the sideline? Okay. We were wondering how he was going to work himself back into this rotation. And from the second he came back, he proved all of us, all of the doubters wrong. He is now in the conversation as one of the best postseason players in Timberwolves history. And frankly, I've never been happier to be wrong.
I'm going to get to Julius Randle in a moment. I have a couple other questions first. I forgot that prediction that you made because I rarely listen to the guests, and I'm kidding. But here's my true or false. If the Timberwolves win the championship this year, their toughest series will be OKC. Scott?
That is true. By far the best record, by far the most depth. This is our toughest test, but the Wolves in recent playoff history, stress the word recent, we step up to these tasks. We knocked out the champions last year. We knocked out the then MVP last year, Nikola Jokic. We are ready for the challenge. This will be the toughest test.
Phil?
It is. But just because it's the toughest test doesn't mean that they are guaranteed to beat whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference, not to get too far ahead, because they've also shown that they can slip up 2 or 3 times in a series. But I'll add to the toughest test part by saying that Oklahoma City specifically presents Timberwolves-related problems, unlike the other teams remaining on the Eastern Conference side. Oklahoma City is the best team in the NBA at forcing turnovers, and they lead the league in steals. And my biggest worry on behalf of the Timberwolves going into the series is that they have one reliable, great ball handler, and he probably shouldn't be playing more than like 24, 25 minutes a night in Mike Conley at his age. And, he's not the same player he was a couple years ago. So watching even the closeout game against the Warriors, watching the amount of times that Anthony Edwards got sloppy with the handle and pickpocketed, 20 turnovers. The OKC is going to try and feast on turning the Wolves over and scoring points in transition. So they kind of present some kryptonite in that fashion, but the Wolves did beat them twice in the regular season, shorthanded too. So they can absorb some of that stuff.
It's a great point. It was something I had on my list to talk about. We'll talk about it now. What's your biggest concern? Mine is turnovers. I'm going to tell you something. I love our team. I have a problem with our ball handling and passing. I've said it ad nauseum. Don't get mad at me. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is not a point guard. If I was the opposing team, I would pick him up at midcourt or earlier, but just trap his ass as soon as he gets across the timeline. And he's not Ant has he loses it or dribbles off his foot. So turnovers are a big concern for me. It always drives me up the wall. And I'm always pleasantly surprised when we only have 12 or 11. It's weird. Scott, what are your concerns?
I'm going to go to the other side of the court. To me, it's defensively because the Thunder can throw at you so many looks. They move the ball. They're young. They're foul merchants, of course. How are they going to lock this team down defensively? It's a very different challenge than two teams we've faced thus far in the playoffs, both of whom had 0 benches. Yeah. How are we going to stop this team? How are we going to burn them and make them exert energy and tire out?
They have a bench, don't they?
Caruso, they actually have a bench, unlike the other two teams we played. Yep.
Yeah, they have a bench. Caruso, he starts or not? Does he start, Alex Caruso?
No, he does not, because it's Lou Dort, and then they also lead the league in the number of Jalen Williams on an NBA roster too.
I know.
So you got to watch out for that.
I honestly don't know. I know he's their second best player, but they have Harkenstein, they have Chet Holmgren, and I've been listening to that soundbite that came up again from Finchie when he says they foul all the time. Yeah. It reminds me of Mike Zimmer when we were playing at the Niners, and there was an end around run play for the Niners, and Eric Kendricks put his hands up. He had been held, and they scored a touchdown. And after the game, Zimmer, who doesn't say this kind of stuff, said they hold all the time, but the refs aren't going to call it all the time. And it's like what Finchie said is like they foul, they foul, but they're not going to call it all the time. And I'm thinking the fouls he's talking about are more grabbing as opposed to bodying up, which we all like physical defense. So I think we keep worrying about the refs in a series. This might be the one.
Well, and on top of that, so the refs always get tricked. I think they've done a better job the last couple of years at not taking the foul baiting stuff, the exaggerated coming off a screen, the whether it's John Morant or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, these smaller players that, they act like they're literally their heads getting rocked back coming off a pick and roll. I think refs they must have been hammered into their head during the offseason. You guys, we look like idiots when you fall for that stuff, but they still fall for it with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Here, we were talking about this on Flagrant Howls. So Anthony Edwards, you'll watch him drive to the hoop in real time. He'll go through some traffic, go up, and he'll miss a bunny at the rim. And then he'll turn to the official and do the complaining thing. And my first thought is, stop complaining. You weren't fouled. You weren't impeded. You got to the rim. Just get back on defense, right? And then they'll show the slow motion. And about half the time, it feels like someone clearly grabs Anthony Edwards' arm or there's physical contact, but he's so strong and thick.
Yep.
He can muscle through it without it looking like a foul. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a smaller, wiry guy, but he is the other way, where if there's any sort of contact, he's going to lean into it, get to the free throw line. That's an interesting dichotomy. In some ways, I want Anthony Edwards to do more of that, emphasize contact. In other ways, I hate that style of basketball, and I think it's partially ruining the aesthetic of the game. So very contrasting styles between the two star players in the series.
You turn your volume down on your dog, please. Whoever's dog that is, just turn the volume down a little bit. Here's a thought. I believe, I could be wrong, this is just an instinct, because we are the Timberwolves group chat, and it's a safe space. I think that Scott and I are more concerned about this series, and I think Phil is more casual and just says, Wolves are going to win. It's our destiny.
Well, listen, you guys laughed at me the last time we did one of these, and I told you they can get back to the Western Conference Finals. Told you the trade back in October was a gem of a trade, short-term and long-term. It's okay. They laughed at Thomas Edison when he said, guys, gather around here. I've invented something called the light bulb, okay? Visionaries, you laugh, you mock, and then down the road, you nod and you agree. I told the audience before Lakers and Warriors, Wolves in 6 or fewer, very confidently. Turned out to be right. I don't have that same feeling about this series. I think there's a reason why OKC is favored. They bring size and length that the Wolves have not had to deal with. In that Lakers series, they basically played, what was it? Jackson Hayes was their starting center, I think.
10 minutes a game.
45 seconds, pull him out of the game,
Right.
And now all of a sudden Jaden McDaniels is the third tallest player on the court, and the other two are Timberwolves. You're going to have Hartenstein, 7 feet, out there for 20, 25 minutes. Chet Holmgren, who's more of a stretch, 4, stretch 5, but he leads I think both teams in shots blocked per game or per 36 minutes. So you're just going to have to deal with things that you didn't have to deal with in the first 2 rounds. And I think it's Wolves in 7. I do think it's Wolves in 7.
I wanted your prediction. Okay, Wolves in 7. Scott?
He stole it. 3 words, and they're the exact same 3 words. Wolves in 7.
Wow.
Okay, so I picked the Wolves. I always say like Wolves in 6, and I was wrong both times because it was 5 against the Lakers and the Warriors. Third time's the charm. I'm going to say Wolves in 6. If they win in 5 again, part of me will be upset because I keep getting it wrong, but I'll also be pleasantly surprised. But I'm going with believing in the team because I like the makeup so much of the offense playing well with Julius Randle and other people, and the defense. The only thing that drives me up the wall, some of these ridiculous turnovers. And it doesn't always happen though. It doesn't always happen with the turnovers, especially in a close game. I think they lose concentration. Oh, here comes Memorial Day, young people, the official start of summer for Kilby and others, and a time to watch the Timberwolves in the playoffs and cook some Omaha steaks. I usually go filet mignon, but also I'm loving their new smash burgers, and I always like their big plump hot dogs. And now during their Memorial Day sale, you get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus our listeners, that's you, get an extra $35 off with the promo code GORGEOUS at checkout. I just got my order last week of smash burgers from Omaha Steaks, and I make them on the grill. They don't fall apart, which I really enjoy. As I've mentioned, Kreger's doesn't use hamburger buns. It's sourdough or rye toasted, cheddar cheese, sometimes Swiss. I mix it up, and I love it. It's all part of the Life Gorgeous. You know, Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers. Bring home the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Memorial Day sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code GORGEOUS at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com. See site for details. Now, here's a fun one. I believe I am more qualified to talk about the trade, Karl Anthony Towns, for the guys, for Julius Randle, Donte, and the draft pick, because I actually like Cat. For those watching and listening, Phil Mackey is one of a number of people in Minnesota who had a problem with Cat. I think I was very patient with his idiosyncrasies. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be honest. This is a safe space, as I mentioned. Once the trade happened, I said, fine, we're good. I don't want to hear any more whining about Cat, but of course I still hear it. But when he was there, I said, I don't know if he does. I don't know if he does the little things to win championships. He's just an offensive force. Maybe we can overcome this like we did in Game 7 against Denver. Who knows? But I did say I liked the trade at the beginning of the year. And a few weeks ago on the Barrero show in Minnesota, before the Warriors series, I said, I now love the trade because Randle is playing the best basketball of his life. And that's not only my opinion, it's others. Julius Randle is playing extremely well. So let me see what my question was. If I had one.
This is a great setup to a question, though. This is
okay. So do we have to keep talking about who won the trade? Because I know the correct answer. It's a win-win because the Knicks love having Cat. They needed a center without Hartenstein, and I love the trade for us. Scott, you don't think about the trade anymore, do you? Or you just move forward?
I do, but I'm able to move forward because we've won 30 out of 36 with Julius Randle, which is incredible. I, again, am going to admit I was wrong. I hated the trade. I didn't like it because we had a Western Conference Finals team, a franchise that 2 times at the time in 35 years made it that far. How do you break that up with your second best player? I never envisioned it working out the way it did. And yes, it's a win-win. There is a real shot because it's wide open this year that we stumble against OKC and the Knicks, led by Cat, win the championship. And then it's going to blow a lot of people's minds to say, wait a second, we said he was never going to be a player that could win. You can never win with him as a second best player.
Right.
It could happen. I'm not saying it will, but it could.
No. Here's the thing. I have 2 things. I know Cat has issues and I can tell him, but he doesn't listen because I've talked to the coaches. His slapping when he plays defense, his silly fouls are ridiculous. Maybe he's fearful he can't do lateral movement, but he slaps at the ball and gets a silly foul. I also say the Knicks completely don't give him the ball, although they did the other day. I don't know how he averaged 24 a game, but they don't look for him enough, and that's Jalen Brunson and Tibbs. He still will get some points, and then sometimes when he gets the ball, he'll be bad. Here's a fun one. Listen to this. In a Game 7, in the second quarter, if Julius Randle misses 5 shots in a row, we'll say, oops, he's a little cold right now. He's a little off. If Cat misses 5 in a row, we say he's choking because we have a higher standard for Cat. Phil, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Cat's track record in the playoffs lends itself to, I don't know if it's the choking label, but certainly the underperforming in the playoffs label, which is factually correct. Even last year, when certainly in the first 2 rounds, his presence offensively, defensively gave Durant problems, Jokic. I mean, we think back to that playoff run last year, Western Conference Finals, and it's like, man, he had the 3 really bad games, terrible timing against the Mavericks. But overall, like, you think back and it's a nice playoff run for Cat. And then you look at the stat sheet and objectively, his scoring average in the regular season takes a dip in the postseason, even in the best postseason run of his career. His efficiency, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, effective field goal percentage, all of them down from the regular season. This year, same thing with the Knicks. Scoring average, way down. 3-point percentage, way down. Fouls, he's averaging 4.5 fouls per game in the playoffs this year. So it's not unfair to say that Karl, in the 44 career playoff games he's played, age 29 now, his performance diminishes regularly in the playoffs. That was true about Julius until this year.
Right.
And now Julius is actually elevated from where he was in the regular season, at least this year with the Timberwolves.
I think they do key on him. They did. You can take a 7-footer out like him a little more in the playoffs, in my opinion. But his shots are way down with the Knicks in the playoffs. It's ridiculous they don't use him. Now, there've been a couple games. Now, that one game at Detroit, he actually played better than I thought he could ever play when he hit the baseline jumper and then the 2 threes. That was like ridiculous, but that's okay. I'm going to ask one more question, then go back to Julius Randle because he outplayed Draymond, and I really want to talk about how much I like this guy. But Phil, I dislike Kobe Bryant. That's public knowledge. When he played well, I could care less. I ignored it. We don't use the word hate on the Life Gorgeous. Do you loathe Cat like I did Kobe, where if Cat plays well, you ignore it. It sounds like you actually give him credit when he plays well.
I try. I mean, he's had some big moments for the Knicks. He's had some game winners or some game icing shots. He's pulled up from the logo a few times. I think what's always bothered me the most about him is just how unnecessarily demonstrative he is. He's sort of like he's a basketball victim. He always thinks he's getting slighted by the officials. He sort of loses control of his body.
Stray voltage.
There's a lack of, I guess it sounds cliche, but there's a lack of toughness. When I watch Julius Randle play, I know that he's going to be mostly in control of his body and he's not going to be on the bench. Like you can rely on him to not be on the bench 3 minutes into a big playoff game because he's spazzed out for 2 fouls. I know that if his 3-point shot isn't falling, he's got a second level of offense, get into the paint. I mean, Julius has 2 or 3 sort of like, he goes into his bag and there's 2 or 3 paint moves or just outside the paint. That little fadeaway, jamming his shoulder into Draymond or whoever the defender is, and just getting inside. Cat, for being a 7-footer who's pretty physically talented, has such an inconsistent offensive bag inside the arc. It's like, dude, you're not 21 years old. I think his offensive game in the paint and as a post player was better the first time around with Tom Thibodeau back. Yeah, Sam Mitchell back in the day.
They posted him up a lot. They didn't double team him early in his career because they didn't know his jump hook was automatic. But it sounds like I dislike Kobe and his arrogance more than you dislike Cat. And Cat's not arrogant. He's the opposite of that. He's a pussy cat.
He's a goofy guy. Yeah,
he's goofy. But at least he's not doing the D-Lo male enhancement pill commercials. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on with D-Lo.
Well, if there's one guy that can speak about rising to the occasion in big moments, it would be D'Angelo Russell, right?
So Scott, I used to like Julius Randle early in his career because I thought he was so aggressive going to the rim, and then I didn't see him that much. Then when I saw him score 57 against the Wolves when he was with the Knicks, I go, why can't we get a guy like that can work for his jump shot? And, he was feathery touch back then, But what he did, it's kind of like a running game with Mike Zimmer where he liked the running game and demoralizes the other team. I keep mentioning Zim. I wonder why. I guess I want toughness. But when Julius Randle would back down Draymond or Jimmy Butler, I was like, because those guys are tough SOBs. I love the way Julius Randle is playing.
I'll tell you what, you got to love it. He's been incredible. It's exactly what this team has needed. However, against this Oklahoma City team, they have longer, taller, and a lot more defenders. They can afford to try to foul them and see if the refs call it because they have 2 more weapons off the bench, which the Warriors didn't have, and the Lakers had nothing. They had no depth or no size. But
Pat Spencer disrespect in your tone is uncalled for.
Number
strong
61.
Disrespect. Yeah, with the beautiful hook shot. The Thunder can come at him in different ways. They can irritate him. They can double him with length, and no other team did that. Can he keep this up for 3 straight series? I don't know. I pray that he can. I didn't think he had these 10 games in him. He has been outstanding, but this is now going to be a battle for him against a younger, longer team.
I wrote down 2 names that I think if they both play well, have a good series, we're going to win. Do you want to guess those 2 names, or do you want to think of 2 guys that you think are the keys to winning the series?
I'm going to throw one of them out there. And he was a piece of the Cat Randle trade, and his name is Donte.
Correct. That's one of them.
Phil?
I could replace him with if Noah plays well, then I don't care. But Donte.
Yeah.
Phil, do you want to, before we get back to that, do you want to apologize? You said Finchy should bench him for.
Whoa. I said, should he chill a little bit on the Donte minutes? I didn't use the
word.
What
does that
benching.
do? Answer. Tell me, Phil, why that would be the wrong decision. I want you to put on your coach.
Chill a little on the.
Why
on the
would that be the wrong decision by the coach?
Can I throw a name?
You demoralize the player. That's why you don't want to demoralize and you lose confidence. Go ahead.
In retrospect, it may have been a slightly emotionally charged tweet in the moment. But a couple things. The Wolves obviously beat the Lakers and the Warriors in 5 games without Donte DiVincenzo or Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming anywhere near their A game. And so that's a credit to the rest of the Timberwolves and Julius Randle stepping up. But the Wolves were good enough to end those series in 5 games. Helps that Steph Curry was out, without DiVincenzo and Nickeil playing well, really. I think you only beat Oklahoma City if Donte DiVincenzo is bringing his offensive bag, his playmaking bag, and if Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a complete player. But it is interesting that the 2 times the Timberwolves beat the Thunder in the regular season, Terrence Shannon Jr. had maybe his 2 best games of the year, and Jalen Clark started both of those games and played like 25 or 30 minutes. I know those guys have been totally out of the rotation, and those regular season games are just fleeting games on a Tuesday night on NBA TV, and they were all pre-March 1st. So you can either ignore them and just lean into the 8 guys that have brought you here, or you could look and say, boy, they run pretty deep. Maybe we expand this a little bit and bring the bolt of lightning off the bench that's either Terrence Shannon Jr. or Jalen Clark. I don't think those guys are like the keys to the series, but I do wonder if they put any value into the blueprint that won those 2 games in the regular season. Just curious. Right.
I would love to see those guys at least for a few minutes, because it's, especially at home, the crowd would go berserk.
Oh,
I'm going to tell you the guys that I wrote down, but it's one of those things where not everyone, sometimes Jaden doesn't do anything, although he's been playing extremely well. But if all 8 guys play well, I think we would. I don't know if that's possible. We win by 30 or something. But I wrote down Naz and Donte. And that's because I'm assuming Randall, Ant, and Rudy are going to play well. But if Naz plays well and Donte plays well, that means they're hitting 3-pointers. And Dante's doing the floor game and the defense and the deflections and the rim protection. So I'm thinking it's a pressure on Naz and Donte.
It helps you win the math battle too, right? Because some of this is if you can hit 16 or 17 threes in these games. That Warrior series, you had the 3 lowest 3-point shooting outputs of your entire season of 7, 5, and 5 made threes, and you're grinding some of those games. So if Oklahoma City is playing tough defense, or if they're getting points in transition, how are you going to make up points on the other end mathematically? It's Naz Reid hitting 4 3-pointers. It's Donte DiVincenzo coming off the bench and scoring 17 points and knocking down a couple 3-pointers.
So we got blown out game 1 against the Warriors at home. They finished that 7-game series, same as OKC just got finished 7-game series. Who wins game 1? Is that the one we steal, or is it game 2?
I'll tell you what, we had a tremendous game 1 and we had a terrible game 1. I don't know the answer to this, and I'm not sure if it matters because it's a chess match. I'm curious how they come out. They should be fresh, but we thought that against the Warriors, and they were given every key to win that game 1 against the Warriors, and they looked terrible. I expect them to come out strong. They're going to look good, and I think it'll be somewhere in between the Lakers game 1 and the Warriors game 1. I don't know how fresh Oklahoma City is going to be coming off this 7-game series.
I think getting game 1 is pretty imperative because you're going to have the most. I get it's a road game for the Timberwolves, but they won the 2nd most road games of any team in the Western Conference. Of course, Oklahoma City being the team that won the most road games. But you're getting them off this 7-game war against Denver, and here they come in. There's a certain, boy, we finally got over that hump 2nd round, and oh man, we're only halfway there, and there's another game in 48 hours. That's what happened to the Timberwolves last year. And they hung in there in game 1 at home against the Mavericks, but the Mavericks hit the gas pedal late, took that lead. Some big shots by Luka. In terms of Finch's history in game 1s with the Timberwolves, I think I'm right on this. Memphis 3 years ago, didn't they steal game 1 against Memphis?
Feel like they did. I know they played really well, and I think they did.
They came out hot, stole game 1, and then the series went the way that it went. They got smoked in game 1 against Denver 2 years ago, so that's 1-1. But then they came out white hot against Phoenix in game 1, hot against Denver in game 1 in the 2nd round. Then there was the quick turnaround against the Mavericks. It didn't go well. But generally though, and then the Lakers, a great game 1, right? When you give when you give Finch a lot of time to prepare, and now he had to prepare for 2 different teams because they didn't know who was going to win that game. They do really well in game ones. So I think they do steal game one.
I want game one. I really wanted it against the Lakers, and boy, did I get it. But I want game one. It just, my Wolves in 6 is much easier if we win game one. Yeah. I'm obviously fired up. We're going to win the first game by 12.
Wow. Look at you.
Donte scores 13. Naz scores 16. Dillingham does really well in warmups. He's back. He's dressed. His ankle's fine.
Great layup line for Dilly.
We gotta hustle because Phil's got to get going here. A couple last questions. This is a hypothetical. I don't myself in real life answer hypotheticals because I don't have to. You don't have to answer it. If the Wolves lose to OKC, what changes in the offseason do we have to make, or do you can't answer because you have to see how we lose? That's a layered question.
I'll say this. I trust Tim Connolly more than I ever have before because I didn't like the cat trade and I like it now. I was proven wrong. There's going to be a lot of turbulence in the NBA this offseason. We now have flexibility, whether that includes Julius Randle or not. It probably would need to if we want to be a player. But the Giannis potential move, there's a lot of moving pieces here, and there's a lot of cards that we don't know are going to be out there yet. Because of that cat trade, we can now be a player in these conversations. So is this season a failure if they lose to the Thunder? Absolutely not. It's already a very successful season. We want more, but it's a success. But there are cards that we can play, and honestly, whatever Tim cooks up, I will buy it.
Do you want Giannis or Durant?
Giannis because of his age. And only because of his age. Durant, we'd have to give up too much for an old guy who at some point is going to break down, but he's only got a couple of years left.
Boy, that would be, to your point about summer NBA chaos, Boston is going to get out of the repeater tax. Boston has to dump and shed, and quite frankly, because Jason Tatum's going to miss the entire year, it's actually a good time for Boston to take a deep breath, reset. So there's going to be some pieces there that go somewhere. Giannis looks like he's going somewhere. Kevin Durant. So there's all these things are going to be flying around. What role will the Timberwolves play? I'll say this, though. I would be much more at peace with running this year's team back again, bringing back Julius, and he might opt out and want like a 3-year deal or whatever. And Naz Reid's a wild card because I don't know that the Wolves would be able to pay him more than like Brooklyn has a bunch of cap space. If there's a team out there that says, we'll give you $30+ million a year, a starting role, and 34 minutes a night, and the Wolves say, yeah, we can't, we love you, but so he has to make a decision there. But I think this is a much deeper, more complete team with more flexible pieces financially to be able to stack together and trade. And plus you got Terrence Shannon Jr. and Dillingham and Clark. So I kind of love where they're at here. And if they lose a hard-fought series in 6 games and said, we're going to run it back, just like we did a couple of years ago after the first year of Rudy Gobert, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
As we wrap up, I think it's true. I know, Phil, you said early in the year, you said, I don't think in this cat trade, Julius Randle's not the answer. That's not the end game. I was saying privately, or maybe, hope we trade him at the deadline, but I don't know for whom. I don't know which player I want because I don't know who's out there. Scott, where were you on that? Did you want him traded by the deadline, Julius Randle?
I thought that it was very much in play, especially with the way we started this year.
Yeah.
I felt that the only reason for the cat trade was for future financial flexibility to get Ant's eventual wingman around his age. Randle was the piece by which to do it. It was great to get a first-round asset and a value player in Donte, but if there was a good deal that came about, I think they would have done it. If not, they would have figured it out this summer. Julius playing well has brought on my God, we have so many different options, including winning a potential championship.
Right.
So let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. He's making his free throws, by the way. 3-point shooting was, I think it's at 34% right now in the playoffs, but he's been working on it. But man, when he goes to the rim, it is so much fun. It's domination when he drives like that. So you got 2 guys, you got Ant that can go to the rim, and you got Julius Randle, and we're going to overpower these guys. We'll see how it goes. I'm fired up. Are you guys fired up or what?
Let's go. LFG.
I'm very fired up, and I want to ask you guys a couple of quick questions. All right.
Yes.
Fun with numbers. What jersey number did the greatest twin of all time, Kirby Puckett, wear?
34.
34, yeah.
That is correct, 34. The Twins just set a record on Sunday with a consecutive scoreless inning streak. What number did they set? What was that record? How many innings?
34.
34. So Phil addressed this earlier. The last time a Minnesota team made it to the championship round was how many years ago?
34.
1991.
1991, 34 years.
That's right.
There is harmony. There is synergy. This is our year. It all dates back to Kirby Puckett, the number 34. Minnesota sports have had 125 consecutive seasons. Timberwolves, Vikings, the Twins, and the Wild, since we've made it to the championship, 125 seasons. It might be coming to an end in a week and a half.
Are you saying Julius Randle is going to average 34 points in the series?
Wow.
Probably that he'll shoot 34% from 3 points. That's probably more realistic.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Phil, thanks for squeezing us in. I know it's a busy day, some power lunches and power meetings, and now you're going to go to a bar. Very proud of you.
Eat some power dry rub wings with some powerful Timberwolves fans. I have one more question for you guys. If this ownership thing changes hands before the NBA season's over, because I think it's going to. I think it's supposed to change hands.
If we win the championship, Glenn gets to take the trophy.
That's
right
my
now.
question. Let's say you guys are Mark and Alex, and you get full control of the team in 2 weeks from now.
You think they're going to vote in 2 weeks?
I think it has to happen like before the end of May or something. There's like some deadline.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance it happens before the end of before the finals.
Okay.
So if Craig and Scott were Mark and Alex, would you allow, and you now own the team, would you allow Glenn to touch the trophy and be part of the celebration on stage? ABC.
I would because I'm a nice person. I don't know what they would do. I don't know. Scott?
They don't want to get headlines for the wrong reasons. They want this to be about the team and the future of the franchise. I think if they were the outgoing ones, perhaps they'd play dirty, but they have been given a gift here. They didn't draft Ant. They inherited Ant. They inherited all the keys to this. Now they've enhanced it quite a bit, but they don't want to create headlines for the wrong reason. They want this to be about the team and this superstar. And let's pray that we get to watch this unfold.
Bring on the awkwardness.
Thank you, guys. I'm proud of you. We'll see you next time, young people. And remember, I'm also proud of you. Drink in moderation. Let's go, Wolves.